Good afternoon, ma'am. This is our report in biology. We are group 6, section A 1 to 2. Our lesson for today is all about in studying nature, scientists form and test hypotheses. Science is a method of understanding the natural world. It develops our curiosity and involves inquiry, which is the search of information and explanation of natural phenomena. This process involves making observation, forming hypotheses, and testing them. Scientific inquiry is not rigid. It involves elements of challenge, adventure, luck, careful planning, reasoning, creativity, patience, and persistence. The process is interactive, each hypothesis being revised and retested based on new observation when related to a better understanding of nature's law. Example is ecological study, climate change research, geology exploration, biological experiment, and basic experiment.
Hello everyone, I'm Ketan Tiago. I'm going to be discuss the exploration and observation in biology. Observation serves the act of carefully watching or monitoring biological phenomena, organisms, or ecosystems. It involves gathering data using the senses or tools like microscope, cameras, or sensors. Observations can be qualitative, descriptive like noting the color of a flower, or quantitative, measurable like counting the number of cells in each. Exploration in biology refers to actively investigating biological systems to discover new information or relationships. It involves conducting experiments, field studies, and research to understand the behavior, structure, or function of organisms, ecosystems, or biological processes. So, both observation and exploration help scientists from hypothesis, collective evidence, and advance our understanding of life and biology. So, I'm going to be explaining the exploration and observation in biology. So, exploration biology involves venturing into new or uncharted areas to discover unknown species, ecosystem, and biological phenomena. It is this is the first step. The first step, the first step, the biological research and research leading to new insight and question for further study. Examples: exploring remote rainforests to discover new species, or diving into deep oceans to discover unknown organism, or sequencing genomes to uncover genetic diversity. So that's exploration. So observation involves or watching or measuring biological phenomena to collect data. It can be direct using senses to observe behavior, or indirect using microscope or camera. So, microscope and cameras. For examples, observing the behaviors of an animal and studying cells under a microscope, or monitoring ecosystem over a time. So, together, exploration opens up to a new research opportunities, and observation provides detailed data to analyze and understand the biological system. Both observation and exploration are essential for advancing knowledge in biology.
Good day everyone, I am Ira Charmaine C. Baroro, BSA Agronomy Section A. So now, I will be discussing about gathering and analyzing data. Data are facts and information collected through observations. Data can be quantitative, numbers like measurements, or qualitative without descriptions without numbers. The examples in the text refers to Jane Goodall, who spent years studying chimpanzee behavior. She recorded both qualitative and quantitative data. Scientists often use this data to create graphs and tables to look for patterns. The goal of analyzing data is to draw conclusions which can involve inductive reasoning, starting with observations and building a general conclusion. This part emphasizes that clear observations and careful analysis are key to understanding the natural world. So next, we have forming and testing hypotheses. The section explains how curiosity drives scientists to ask questions about the world. A hypothesis is an explanation or educated guess that can be tested. It predicts an outcome and needs to be specific and testable. The example here is asking why chimpanzees have different coat colors, and this question leads to forming hypotheses. Scientists then use deductive reasoning to test the hypothesis through experiments. An experiment involves a control group where nothing changes and an experimental group where something is altered to see the effect. The final part explains the importance of trial and error and how testing the hypothesis through experiments is part of the scientific process.
Tiago from Group 6 explain the forming and testing hypothesis. Fundamental steps in the scientific method which is used to investigate phenomena, acquire new knowledge, or correct and integrate previous knowledge. A core part of the scientific method involves making predictions and conducting experiments to determine if those predictions hold true. So, in a forming hypothesis is a tentative explanation of predictions that can be tested through experimentation and observation. So, it is typically formulated in a prior knowledge, observation, and theories. In a good hypothesis, is a testable. It can be proven true or false in a specific and clear terms and variables and outcomes. Or in a falsifiable, there's a possibility it can be misinterpreted. So the two types of hypothesis is a null hypothesis H0 and the alternative hypothesis H1 or HA. The null hypothesis suggested that there is no effect or relationship between variables. It is often what researchers aim to test or to disprove. The alternate hypothesis H1 or HA is a proposes that there are effects or relationship between the variables and can be accepted where the researcher may seek of it or support. Testing hypothesis. Step 1. Experimentation. Researchers can experiment or observations to collect data. This involves identifying the cause and the effect of variables. Step 2. The data analysis. After data collection, researchers analyze the result. Statistically common methods include t-test, chi-square test, regression analysis. Step 3. The conclusion. Based on the result, researchers decide whether to reject the null hypothesis. If the data supports the alternative hypothesis, it may be accepted. Okay, I'm going to give an example, a specific example of forming testing hypothesis. The example is the increasing sunlight exposure improves the growth of a particular plant species. So The null hypothesis is described as no effect or no relationship between the variables. So the sunlight exposure has no effect on the plant's growth rate. And the alternative hypothesis, H1, has an effect or relationship between the variables. So it increases the sunlight exposure, increase the plant's growth rate. So the dependent variable of the plant, the cause is the sunlight exposure. It needs to be 4 to 8 hours daily. And the dependent variable, the effect is the growth rate of a plant. After conducting the experiment and analyzing the data, the researcher may found that plants with more sunlight exposures grow faster. Supporting the alternative hypothesis, if no significant difference is found, the null hypothesis is accepted. So there is always to remember in forming analytic hypothesis, the null and the alternative hypothesis is the relationship and the effect of an experiment. That's all. Thank you.
So good morning. This current video I will discuss about there's a question in lesson 1. My report is the page 16. There's a table right there, and the question on that, there is two hypotheses, and the question is, why doesn't the desk lamp work? So there are two hypotheses. The hypothesis 1 is, you can see the bulb is born out. This is the hypothesis 1. The bulb is born out. Hypothesis 1. The hypothesis 2 is, this is the screwed layer of the bulb. The hypothesis 2 is, it's not enough screwed in. It is not fully screwed in. Bulb is improperly screwed in, so it didn't reach at the pit of the light bulb. It don't reach at the pit, and that's why it doesn't light. It doesn't light. So that's the reason. So that's the hypothesis. So the hypothesis 1 is, the bulb is born out like this. It's not working at all because it's born out. The hypothesis 2 is, it's not improperly screwed in. So in prediction, in hypothesis 1, there's a prediction. Replacing bulb will fix problem. So there's a prediction in hypothesis 1, bulb is born out. The prediction is, replacing bulb will fix the problem. So that is the solution in hypothesis 1. So we don't know exactly what is the reason that the light bulb doesn't work. In hypothesis 2, their solution is, they buy a new one. They remove the bulb and then reinstall it again. That is their solution. If we look at the hypothesis 1, the solution is, they buy a new bulb and then replace it, and we don't know what will happen next. And so they test the solution. First we go to the solution 2. The solution 2 is reinstalling, removing the bulb, and then reinstall it again. They test it, and then the result is, it doesn't light on. So if we go to the hypothesis 2, the hypothesis 2 is they buy a new bulb and then replace it. And the result is they light up. So, the reason is, the hypothesis 1 is the real theory or a possibility, but it's not a possibility at all because the result is actually in the hypothesis 1. The hypothesis 1 is the real reason why the bulb doesn't turn on. It's actually the bulb is already broken, it's born out. Look at this, it's already born out and it doesn't work. So this is the reason. So the solution is buying new one. In hypothesis 1, the solution is buying new one and then replace it. Then it will light on. So the result is the lamp works. In hypothesis 1, the lamp works. So that is the reason why this bulb it doesn't work. Because in the disc bulb, it's actually like this. This is the handlebar and it is the light, the bulb, right? So you already know it. So the hypothesis 1 is the real reason. And so I'm done with it. But actually, if you don't know the reason, if these two hypotheses, if the reason is not in these two hypotheses, this is the hypothesis 1, hypothesis 2. If the reason of the bulb is not working on the hypothesis 1, hypothesis 2, then it may be that it's not the bulb, it's the wirings, perhaps. So there's a different kind of reason, but my report is just all about the two hypotheses, so I will just focus on these two hypotheses. But actually, the real reason of this bulb is not working because of it's actually the bulb is broken, it's worn out, right? So ma'am, thank you ma'am, and I hope you learned something from my lesson and hope you got out something new ideas. And because if I will free to explain something about it, I will actually elaborate, but unfortunately my topic is all just about two reasons, so we just focus on that. So thank you and see you in the next report.
Good day everyone, I'm George Ricky Caravanya. My topic is deductive reasoning. Do you know what is deductive reasoning? Deductive reasoning is when you start a specific observation or facts and infer a general rule or conclusion from them. All dogs have ears. Golden retrievers are dogs, therefore they have ears. That's the example of deductive reasoning. We move on in deductive reasoning. So, what is inductive reasoning? Inductive reasoning is when you start a specific observation or facts and infer a general rule or conclusion from them. For example, if you notice that every time you eat spicy food, you get stomach ache, you might use inductive reasoning to conclude that spicy food causes stomach ache. Let's move on. We have also heard the question that can and cannot be addressed by science. Scientific inquiry is a powerful way to learn about nature, but there are limitations to the kinds of questions it can answer. A scientific hypothesis must be testable. There must be some observation or experiment that could be revealed if such an idea is likely to be true or false. Like for example, this can be addressed by science. Use of science in everyday life are as follows. We use cars, bikes, or bicycles to go from one place to another. These all are invention of science. These are questions cannot be addressed by science. Example, moral judgment, aesthetic judgment, decision about the application of science, and conclusion about the supernatural are outside the realm of science. Science and religion are not mutually exclusive or contradictory. They are simply concerned with different issues. And that's all, thank you.
Hi, my name is Anthony Diet Jr. I'm here to discuss about the flexibility of the scientific process. The flexibility of the scientific process. The image of ethics accept discuss the flexibility of the scientific process. It highlights that the scientific methods is more adaptable than its idealized rigid representation. For example, the text accept highlight the flexibility of the scientific process, challenges the notion of arranged linear scientific methods. It emphasizes the scientific inquiry is more adaptable and dynamic than often portrayed.
Good day everyone. Today I will reporting my topic about the process of science, a realistic model. First is exploration and discovery, obtaining nature, asking a question, reading the scientific literature. Second is performing and testing hypotheses and testing ideas. Performing hypotheses, predicting results and performing observations, gathering data, analyzing result, interpreting result, support hypothesis, conduct the hypothesis, inspire revise new hypothesis, currently analyze and feedback, and peer review, replication of finding, publications,